Experienced our high-end F3 tornado that devastated the capital city, the western portion of the capital city. We still remain in awe of the resilience of the survivors, the resilience of each and every resident, whether they were impacted or not, how we all stood together in unity, the focus on not only recovery, but how we build back stronger and better than ever. I think we all know by now that the pathway had somewhere close to 3,000 structures that were impacted. What we know for certain is that 100 were completely destroyed. Around 538 had extreme and heavy damage. We know that that's been devastating, but we want to ensure the reason and the rationale for these public briefings is, one, to ensure for our residents to know that we are going to rebuild back stronger and better than ever, but for the survivors to know that we are not losing sight on their recovery. We know that many times we can go on with business, and our business is the first priority, is our people's business, and ensuring that we recover in that particular area. I want to take this time to continue to share the appreciation of each and every volunteer. It truly was a great experience to see everyone bond together over those past few weeks. What we've seen, that's from a donation standpoint, the City of Little Rock received somewhere around 430 pallets of food, non-perishable items, perishable items, water, things of that nature. It's unknown what we received at the Family Assistance Center at Emmanuel Baptist Church. We're so grateful for them and how we were able to not only stand up our Incident Command Center, but also the Family Assistance Center that operated for close to a month. We've now transitioned those operations in our partnership with FEMA to have our Disaster Recovery Center at the West Central Community Center. In addition to those volunteers and what we were able to do to bond together for food and non-perishable items and water, and then setting up the assistance as it relates to those in need from a FEMA perspective, we also received a little over $300,000 in donations. We, at our next briefing, will share the plan on how we distribute those dollars. And I want to ensure that everyone understands that was within 2 weeks, more than $300,000, 500 individual donors to give to the people of Little Rock. These dollars more than likely are going to go directly to organizations that were helping tornado victims, and we're going to figure out an opportunity to get some of these dollars to as many directly impacted individuals as possible. Again, we'll have all the details at our next briefing. But it is a true testament to the love and the willingness of service here in the City of Little Rock for each of our residents, and you just could not be more proud of the residents and the people of Little Rock and all those who made those donations. I do want to share, as we know, we've moved from emergency response. We're now fully focused on recovery. That being said, we want to make the announcement that the City of Little Rock is no longer accepting donations at our command center on 7000 Murray Drive. If you want to continue to make donations, we encourage you to make food donations to the Arkansas Food Bank and Arkansas Hunger Relief Alliance. For any non-food donations, please direct those donations to Goodwill Arkansas. They have set up their West Little Rock store as a disaster recovery center as well. So now, 2 recovery centers that we all are aware of, the FEMA Disaster Recovery Center in partnership with the City of Little Rock is located at West Central Community Center. We all know about that one, but also want to make the announcement about Goodwill Arkansas. If you want to contribute non-food items, they have converted their West Little Rock store to a disaster recovery center. Secondly, when we talk about those few things, we also want to talk about the rebuilding. To truly rebuild, we have to focus on the debris management. I just want to continue to stress that the City of Little Rock, its top priority to remove this debris as quickly as possible. But as I shared before, we're going to act with deliberate haste, where we do stress some patience. We've gotten a lot done in close to 30 days. But as I shared, we know for a fact that pathway impacted 3,000 structures. 100 structures were completely destroyed. 538 were heavily, severely damaged. And it's going to take a little bit to get it done. We think at least another 60 to 90 days to get majority of the debris removed. It's our estimation is somewhere between a year to 2 years to fully recover from this devastation. I do want to bring with you today John Honeywell, who's going to discuss the debris management. We also, who's our Director of Public Works. Then after him, Jamie Collins is going to discuss the impact to businesses and how the Planning and Development Division is working to help our businesses in their time of need. So again, we'll continue these updates for the next few weeks, every 2 weeks. I want to continue to share with those survivors that we're not losing sight. We are going to continue to keep you a priority to ensure that we rebuild back stronger and better than ever. John Honeywell. And before John comes up, I'm sorry, I do want to also take this time just to share appreciation to the entire team of the City of Little Rock, the first responders, the men and women, the Little Rock Police Department, Fire Department, Public Works Department, Parks Department, our emergency management team who's here with us, Nathan Spicer, Mike Garrity, Matt Burks, Karen Sykes with our volunteers, our entire Office of Executive Administration, all the volunteers. We are grateful for you that have been working around the clock to ensure that we have this smooth process in a chaotic time. That being said, thank you. And now we'll have John Honeywell.
Thank you, Mayor. Public Works, immediately following the storm, we mobilized our crews to begin the process of removing debris from streets to allow access for all of our other entities to provide services for those impacted by the storms. And once that was completed, our crews transitioned into the debris removal process. Also during that time, the first week to week and a half after the storm, we were in the process of going out, doing bids, and hiring contractors to assist us in the removal of the debris. Once we had those contractors selected and their contracts in place, they mobilized on April 20th, was the first day that they started doing collections across the city. Since that time, they've been working 7 days a week, as weather permits, to collect debris across the entire storm track. We also have a slide up here that will give some information on that, and I'll go. They were basically starting with vegetative debris. They did no construction debris or mixed material piles for the first 7 to 8 days of the process. The reason behind that is there's a large amount of that construction type debris that's going to be deposited within the city's landfill, and we had to do preparations at the landfill to be able to have space for them to operate and work alongside of our normal operations at that location. So we took about a week getting that prepared, and that process has now begun. So the vegetative debris is being taken to the landfill. There's a temporary site there where the contractor takes it, drops it off, and is processing that. Since April 20th, the contractor has removed approximately 152,000 cubic yards of material from the storm track. That includes roughly 3,000 individual loads of material. You may have seen some of the very large trucks with their trailers moving across the city, picking up and then also depositing that debris at the landfill. The city also had, in the first week and a half to 2 weeks of the storm, an area at Reservoir Park that allowed the public and other contractors working for the public that were impacted by the storm to drop their material off at Reservoir Park. We closed that to the public on April 22nd, or after April 22nd. That Monday was actually the first day they weren't allowed to move material in there. That was to allow our contractor to start removing that debris from Reservoir Park. We didn't want that conflict for them to be interacting with the contractor at that site with very large machinery working. So our contractor is actively working at Reservoir to remove debris and actively working across the city, removing debris as well. So, starting this Monday, once we had the landfill prepared, our contractor has now started removing construction debris and mixed debris piles. We had a lot of questions from the public about why is my particular debris in front of my home not being collected in the initial passes. When we have debris piles that have mixed material, vegetative construction, wood debris, siding, other materials when property is damaged. If those materials are mixed, we have to treat all of that as a construction debris pile, and it has to go in the landfill. So we have to keep all of those types of piles separated, so that's why you've seen a delay in some of those piles being picked up. That, as of this Monday, everything should be being picked up along the streets as our contractors go by. It's specific to what they're putting in the truck, but they should be getting everything collected as they go across the city at this time. So let's go to the second slide here. This gives you a breakdown of how much material was collected each day since the 20th. And you can see on that very last graph where it's blue and green colors. That shows you where we've started collecting construction debris and sort of the equal amount of quantity between construction debris and vegetative debris that's being collected. And then we'll switch over to the last slide. This gives you an idea of all the locations, and these are don't show every location, but it shows you the densities of where our contractor has been operating since they started on the 20th. These are all the majorly impacted excuse me, areas across the city where we've been concentrating the contractors and picking up debris as quickly as possible. The one last thing I want to speak about is drainage and impacts to drainage ways across the city. We've been working on removing debris from those channels and drainage pathways as quickly as we can with city forces. Because of the rules and regulations with the FEMA program and disaster, our contractor cannot go on private property to remove debris. So the city has been working to try to get that debris removed as quickly as possible. We're also working with some other federal agencies for funding to try to more quickly remove that debris that's in the drainage ways. So we ask the public to be patient with us. We know it has impacts on their property, but we're doing everything we can to remove that debris and prevent any kind of damage from flooding or all the rain events that we've had from occurring any further. With that, I'm going to stop, and Leland is going to be next.
Before Leland, I just also, as you know, there's been a lot of money expended on behalf of the city. I also want to take this opportunity to recognize City Director B.J. Warwick, who's with us today, representing members of the City Board. They offered a lot of grace to us to make some funding decisions to ensure that we can be quickly responsive to our residents and also to our finance and our procurement team. That being said, now, Leland.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. I just want to start by saying thank you to all the different departments and especially our volunteers that have come out and helped us clean up our parks. Just want to give a quick review of what damages were held or happened in our parks. We had 3 major parks that were damaged by the tornado. Starting with Rock Creek out in West Little Rock. This was about 50 acres of storm debris in the wooded areas, and it impacted our Rock Creek Trail. This area is currently closed to the public and will remain closed for some time due to the isolated location, but our contractor will be cleaning up the storm debris in that area. We still have some significant improvements to take on there in terms of safety, so if you would, please stay out of Rock Creek for the time being until we have a new notice. Our next park is Reservoir Park. You've heard a lot about Reservoir Park. It's been utilized for our citywide dumping efforts. Reservoir Park was 70 acres that was completely destroyed. We've lost over $1 million in assets there from our pavilion, restroom, tennis courts, disc golf, our ball field lighting. Reservoir was extremely hit hard. This park will be closed for a long, extended period of time and will be rebuilt. I'm excited to be able to have an optimistic viewpoint and see what we can do for Reservoir and make it better for the future. That being said, Murray Park was our third park down on the Arkansas River. It was impacted for about 50 acres of that park. The majority of that area was the dog park, soccer fields, restrooms, and pavilions along the river, along with our fit lot. The Arkansas River Trail as well. The golf course was closed initially for the first day. the Resman Golf Course, but we reopened that on Sunday, and the River Trail is now open. Many other aspects of Murray will be open starting in a phased effort on Monday. Currently, they're still closed. I understand that's creating some conflicts for individuals, but it has a lot to do with the utilities in the area. There's a lot of hazards that still exist, and we're working as fast as we can to clean up those hazards. So that's the general overlay for Little Rock Parks and Recreation. Thank you for your time.
Good afternoon, everyone. I would like to talk a little bit about what planning and development has been seeing since the tornado. Currently, we have performed 539 inspections within the tornado damaged area. We have issued 273 permits for recovery and waived $47,000 in fees for that same area. I would like to remind everyone that for all occupancy types, and for us that would be single-family residential, multi-family residential, which is apartments, and also commercial or office complexes, permits are required for all building, electrical, plumbing, and mechanical work, but no fees are required for these permits. And individually for each of those uses, for single-family residential properties, we've had several questions come up over time, so I thought I'd address those for the public. A structural engineer analysis will not be required unless deemed necessary or under special circumstances required by the Arkansas Fire Prevention Code. Any home reconstruction will be allowed to be performed and put back in place to original status prior to the tornado, excluding some special conditions. However, any installation in building, plumbing, electrical, mechanical that is found to be unsafe will be required to be brought up to a safe standard. If a structure is demolished down to the foundation may be utilized for reconstruction as long as the foundation is intact and is in acceptable condition. Everything new from the foundation up will be required to meet the current code. And in doing so, the zoning requirements will be waived for those properties as long as the structure has not increased its footprint and maintains the original building outline. We want to make sure and ensure that all contractors are providing restroom facilities that are required for all the workers. And we also, because a lot of the addressing has been knocked down, mailboxes as such, we're wanting to please post your home address number on your home visibly from the street. Now, apartments and multifamily and also commercial, they have to, because there is public going into those facilities, and we want to get them operational as quickly as possible in a safe manner. If the space has been extensively damaged and a structural analysis must be performed, we want that performed by a duly licensed professional in the field of structural engineering, licensed in the state of Arkansas. The analysis must be performed and reviewed and approved before any entry is permitted. And we're doing that because we want to make sure that we ensure a safe pathway for entry and exit, from the building for all of the public to access. And just a reminder that all the areas around the commercial sites are considered a construction zone and must be fenced, gated, and signage must be in place to show the public that it is a construction zone. Because we also want to include that they require safety equipment, hard hats, goggles, vests, etc., and restroom facilities also must be provided at those locations. And if reconstruction or demolitions is deemed necessary, all plans needs to be submitted to the city prior to commencement of work. Now, on commercial properties, it follows the same suit as the apartments in regards to the structural licensor of the engineer. Must be licensed in the field of structural engineering in the state of Arkansas for any structural analysis that needs to be performed, and it must be done prior to entry into the building for the public and approved by the city. We're looking for that same pathway on commercial buildings and office buildings for safety, and we're following also the same reconstruction and demolition as deemed necessary, the submittal of the plans for review and approval. I do want to point out, just because some of the residential property owners along with commercial property owners will be entering the contracts with entities for that work, before you enter into an agreement with a contractor, be sure that you have a written contract, that they have the permits in place for the necessary work, and verify that they are properly licensed to perform the work in the city and the state. If you have any questions, you may contact our office, 501-371-4832, or email us. It's at permits, just spelled out, PERMITS, @littlerock.gov. And just make sure that all contractors that you hire are licensed to perform the work in the city and the state, that you get written contract for the work. Verify that they have their construction permits in place. And if you need to verify a contractor's license, you can call the Arkansas Contractors Licensing Board. The number is 501-372-4861. Thank you.
Thank you, Jamie. We'll now take questions.
Which is the city going to pay DRC?
For those who didn't hear Joseph's question, is how much is the city going to spend as it relates to the DRC Emergency Services, which is our private contractor to remove the debris. We do not know the exact number. We do know right now for the first 30 days, and that 30-day mark for FEMA is from April 10th to May 10th. We do want to say thank you to Governor Sanders, who will extend an additional 3 days. So we'll technically go from April 10th to May 13th. That any work that's done by DRC Emergency Services will be 100% reimbursed. We do know, again, as I shared, we're going to be removing this debris for the next 60 to 90 days. There's an estimate, and again, and that's in all caps, an estimate that we could spend up to $10 million.
Do you think the agreement, whatever the agreements that are released so far, DRC, for the worst case,
No, our city attorney has done a yeoman's job with the contract. I mean, we have the contract until every bit of debris is removed. Next question. And for those in the public, after the 30 days, after May 13th, FEMA will do 75% reimbursement. That's where the estimate of $10 million comes from. Seeing no other questions, thank you so much.